I was the new kid in town, and like Tim was the first person, well, actually second person I'd met, and so we kind of just became friends, and we were kind of both into heavy metal. But, we had like denim jackets with like metal back patches and studs and all stuff. We red Krang.
Battle jacket, nice.
At the time, I had a Megadeth back patch, but we were like metal kids. We read Krang, and
but that you must have been really, really young, no?
Yeah, we're 11.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke, and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Episode 79 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. We're speaking to Mark from Ash later. Another good one. Firstly, had a big week on the podcast this week. Got lots of new subscribers and listeners and stuff. So welcome if you're new. Took a while to find us, but you're here now. So that's the main thing. But thanks everyone for sharing and listening and watching. Appreciate it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, before we get on to this week's guest, what's everyone been up to? Well, I'll start because me and Dave went out for a curry last night.
Oh, did
which
you?
we never do.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Oh, because
The moon
Dave's
of
missus
India.
is away and we thought, fuck it, let's go out into the moon
Have a
of
ruby.
India,
Yeah.
We couldn't
was good,
find a
wasn't it?
single other person to come with us.
We didn't try that hard, did we, really?
Yeah.
But no, we don't know anyone.
Why
Yeah, it
did
was
you
all
need
right, wasn't
someone
it?
else to come with you? Is it weird? Two blokes going out for dinner.
We
Is it
thought
still
it was a
weird
bit
over
Yeah,
there?
We
it's
thought
a
it was
bit
a bit
weird,
weird.
but there was hardly anyone else there, so it didn't really matter.
I think we were a bit concerned we'd run out of stuff to talk about.
Right. Did you?
Yeah,
Did
That's
you?
all right.
Yeah.
but the food was good.
We just sat there in
Yeah.
silence.
That's the main thing.
We just sat and ate.
It's totally normal over here for two blokes, straight blokes, to go
It's
out
not.
for dinner.
Yeah, it's not abnormal here, really. But it was, just, But it was good. It was nice food, nice conversation, and then we went back and watched reruns of Bullseye. So, good night.
Oh, God.
In one.
Those prices.
Everyone
are
on
so
it was
shit.
so ugly.
Yes. Yeah.
And they look so old. The audience looked like
Yeah.
an old people's home. It's mental.
They're probably only in their 40s.
I know. But yeah,
What was
there
Bully's
was
special
mullets
prize?
and all sorts.
Cutlery.
Some cutlery.
Cutlery.
Somebody did win a caravan. That was good.
Brilliant.
But yeah, the prizes in general were awful. It looked like when you open up your garage and there's just loads of shit everywhere. It just looked like
Yeah.
that.
You
It's
just
all
wouldn't
crap.
want any of it.
No,
Yeah.
funny.
It's great.
It's a good program. It's just funny to watch. Everyone's all the darts players are shit. Everyone looks shit. It's just a funny program.
Used to be my favourite programme, Bullseye.
Yes, it's prime time viewing
So good.
back in the day.
Yeah.
They have a slot where they get a professional on to throw for charity.
And they're
Remember that?
shit.
Yes.
And they were just rubbish. I think one of
This
them
guy-
made about £101 for the charity.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
this
not
is
bad.
this is for charity. So they've got to go to the charity. Go, here you go. Here's like 100
Yeah.
quid towards your minibus. They're probably like, fucking hell, it's going to cost us that in admin
Sure.
just to put it
Sure.
through the books. But yeah, it's good. It was a good night. It's a good night though. And I also
Oh, good on you. I
did my homework and I did listen to Otterbotter Beaver or whatever they're
Nearly
called.
close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I was never going to get it right.
And what's your verdict?
I think I'd like to see them live. I think they'd be great live. But I could never sit and listen to that in my room. No. Because A,
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and relax to that. And B, lyrics, I don't understand the language. So I think that's quite important in music.
I don't think so.
Well,
Yeah.
I kind of do. But they're a good band. I mean, musically, musicianship-wise, they're very good. So I think they'd be a great band to see.
Full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I like
All
that
right, that's
video
fair.
too. I really like that video. It's good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to Matt Jammy for putting those up on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Dave, did you ever listen?
No, I didn't
He
realise it
won't
was the
have even seen
homework.
your message, will he? Don't go on Facebook.
No, sure.
No, I don't like Facebook.
Also, I booked myself tickets to War of the Worlds, the musical. Jeff White, big fan of that.
Oh
April.
man, you used to make us listen to that when we were like 14 or 15, way too
Well,
young to be listening to that nonsense.
He
mean,
made me
and ever
listen
si-
to it yesterday
Oh, did he?
yeah,
Did he keep going
in
on
the
about it?
van. Yeah.
Yeah.
ever since then, this will be a dream come true to go and watch this at the Brighton Centre.
Sure.
Be good. That's me.
Yeah.
So I've done some
Brilliant.
stuff this week at least.
That's loads of stuff.
Dave, I've taken some of your
Yeah,
material.
you've covered that. That's all that I've done.
You must have done something else. Your missus has been away. What have you been up to? Going mental.
Going mental in the masturbatorium.
Yeah. Come on.
I thought that would come up. It's just inevitable, isn't it?
When I got to his house, there was just tissues everywhere.
Yeah, I bet
Just
there
strewn
was.
around the house.
Yeah, it's wall to wall. Good on you, mate. Good on you.
It's so horrible.
You're the one that built it.
You must have done something else. What's going on in Berwick?
Nothing.
Yeah.
This is good, this slot, isn't it? This weekly slot.
I think it
Something
might
did
run
happen
its course.
once, but nothing's happened this week.
I think we started
Yeah.
off with like an armed robbery and someone smashing through
Yeah.
the barriers, didn't we? But it's sort of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Nielsen said.
Sure.
All right, we'll go straight to Luke then, shall we? What have you been up to?
Oh, no gigs this week, I'm afraid. I was going to go to one last night, but I couldn't make it in the end. Grindcore. Yeah, nothing, not a lot. Working hard, man. Working hard. I'll tell you what I've been listening to. I'm listening to the God Machine.
Good, isn't it?
People have been posting about it because of that. They've reissued their 2 albums on vinyl
right.
this week. Too expensive for me, and we're going to wait until those reissues become secondhand, I think. But really good, man. I
Told you.
can't believe I hadn't listened to them properly before. Yeah,
Yeah, dark, isn't it?
you know, the first album, some of it reminded me
First
of
album's
Alice in
not as
Chains a
dark,
little bit.
Yeah. That's a bit more upbeat, that one. It's not upbeat
I
at all.
wouldn't go that far, but yeah,
Compared to the other one.
yeah. But I can see why Stuart from Mogwai chose it as the band he'd want to be, and it's got
Yeah, the
got
guitar.
a little hint of that on it. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, loved it, and lots of noisy
good.
stuff for me.
Yeah, no, I've always been a fan, especially of that last album. He did go on. The guy, I can't remember what his name is now. That's annoying. He did go on to form another band afterwards called Sophia or something, and they're still going, I think. But it's not. It doesn't sound much like the God Machine.
Right, get him on.
I have tried. I will keep trying. Yeah, it'd be great to get him on. Yeah, but yeah, great sort of. It's one of those bands that, well, obviously, they just split up after that second album come out, and that was it. Came and went.
I think
but, yeah,
like
great
you said, you
music.
didn't listen to Mogwai because you knew that I liked him. I think I didn't listen to the God Machine because you liked him. I thought they were going to be like Depeche Mode.
No.
Which I don't mind Depeche Mode, but I thought, I know what they sound like, so I didn't bother listening to them. But they don't sound like Depeche Mode at all.
We've all missed
they're
out on
great.
all this music because of us.
Our hatred of each other.
Hatred of each other.
Our
Yeah.
stubbornness and hatred of each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, at least we've rectified it
Oh.
now. Probably might go back and
Yeah.
listen to some of the other stuff you like. Probably some good stuff.
Sure. You're going to be disappointed, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of shit in there too.
Yeah.
So, shall we get into this week's episode with Mark from Ash? Should we do it?
Yes. Let's fucking do
Yeah.
it.
Why do you do that every time?
So I can put the little guitar bit in.
Yeah. I thought so.
All right.
If you actually listen to your own podcast, Dave, you'd know that.
Right, so if you are watching this, then please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and get involved in the comments. Let us know your favourite Ash albums, singles, gigs, all that stuff. If you're listening, then please do review it, because I did put out a message in the Facebook group saying that if you did leave us a review this week, we'd read it out in this thing. But I haven't had a chance to go and have a look, but I have seen that there are some new ones. So
In one review, it said we annoyed them so much they had to turn their phone off.
Yeah, that's all right. You're always going to get trolls.
You can't call that a troll. That's an honest review, man.
Well, it's better than nothing.
Can't
Yeah.
you?
If you can just leave us a review, you'll get it read out on the podcast. That's good, isn't it?
Do we agree to read any out, regardless of what it's like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't leave a shit
Hmm.
one just because it's funny, because then our podcast goes down the charts. But if you think it's shit, then fair enough. But just leave.
No,
just,
if you think it's shit, keep it to yourself.
yeah, keep it to yourself. But just someone review us. Like, I don't know why people aren't. Better things to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Remember, you can now sponsor the podcast. Send us an email at stupidandcontagiousPodcast@gmail.com if you're in a band, record label, anything really. And we'll give you a shout out at the start of the podcast and put you in the show notes. If you're a band, Luke will do you a quick review, put you on the mixtape. It's only like 25 quid or something. App, we've got an app. People who have emailed me about the Android thing, I am collecting all the emails and I'll send them all to Dave when I've got enough. So I'm not just ignoring you. I am getting your messages. I'm going to compile them all and send them to Dave. But we still need some more. So if you're on Android and want to try the app out, send us an email and we'll send it to Dave and he'll do something. Don't know. But yeah, if you've got an iPhone and you don't need that, you just go and download the app. It's good. Go from the podcast episode straight to the mixtape seamlessly. Try it. Download it. Go and download it. Got the stupid app. But let's get into this week's episode. Mark from Ash.
Yeah.
You did it at the wrong time. I don't put a guitar bit in there. I did it, but I've already done that.
Oh,
He tried.
put one in
Bless him.
there as well.
Put another one in.
Luke, Ash. Oh, I haven't
Yes,
done the Wikipedia
Ash,
thing.
what have you got for me from Wikipedia?
I reckon it's going to say Northern Irish,
rock band. Yeah.
Oh, Ash are a Northern Irish rock band. There you go.
They are indeed. Yeah, I mean, what would you call them? Indie rock? Power pop?
Indie rock. It's not pop,
I'd
is it?
go power. Yeah, I'd go power pop.
I like power pop. Yeah, but power pop's
Dave
not
likes
pop.
indie rock.
I know some of the songs, like you were saying, are perfect pop songs in the interview.
Yeah.
And I guess they are. But they just seem a bit too heavy to be called pop.
Well,
Yeah,
people
but power
relate
pop's
pop
not pop.
to pop music.
Oh,
See,
right. Okay.
Right.
Pop
No.
music just means popular music, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
power
suppose.
pop was kind of like kind of a section of kind of like more upbeat kind of punk music from the late 70s. So I put it in that
Yeah.
category. Yeah, kind of a
Yeah.
bit punky, indie, rocky, power pop.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3-piece for some of their incarnation. So Tim Wheeler, frontman. Today's guest Mark Hamilton on the bass, and Rick McMurray on the drums. So they formed in Downpatrick, County Down, Northern Ireland, in 1992 by Tim and Mark. He spends a lot of the interview talking about the early days, so I won't go
good,
into it too much. You get into quite a lot of detail,
Yeah,
right?
enjoy it. Yeah.
But basically, Mark and Tim started out as like metal kids when they were 11 years old, unbelievably. And
That's mad, isn't it?
yeah. But yeah, he talks about it in the interview really well. They made a band called Vietnam around 1989.
Do you know what the average age for a soldier was in Vietnam?
38?
20? Tell us, Neil.
19. No, 19.
Yeah.
I can't remember what was the average
You're going to
age
make me
for a-
put on 19 Not Out on the playlist.
No.
No.
No,
the
not 19
spoof
Not Out.
version.
No. Put
Okay.
the original one on there for sure.
Yeah. Is it Paul Hardcastle? Is that right?
Mm.
Yeah. Full
Mhm.
podcast.
All right. Oh man. Basically attempting to play metal. Basically, we'll talk about it after, maybe, right? Is that okay?
Yeah. We'll have a chat about it after.
Yeah. Basically, lots of people left the band, so it was just down to kind of Tim and Mark kind of separated off, and they made a new band, Ash, in '92, as I said, and they started basically writing songs straight away, original songs, making demo tapes, playing around the local area. And I think they made like 3 or 4 demo tapes, just, putting out song and song and song. And one of
quite
them got
prolific.
picked up by, right. But again, he explains why in the interview, and I think it's really interesting. So we can talk about it after. One of them was picked up by a local music guy called Ray Valentine. That's such a great kind of cheesy kind of
Spivvy name.
Yeah, like a Svengali kind of name, right? Ray Valentine. Apparently they recorded one of the demos at his studio, so he owned a studio, but he was like a local kind of musician, and he put out their first single, Jack Names the Planet, just 1,000 copies, put it out in Northern Ireland in 1994. It is quite a lot. I
don't think Main Street ever sold 1,000 copies. Don't think we have.
Not
Probably
yet.
haven't even had 1,000 downloads.
They're still in your garage, aren't they?
Put it on the playlist. Might get 1,000 downloads this week.
I'm not putting any more Main Street on, although I haven't put any on for a while, actually. No, go on. I will. Give me a song.
Yeah.
Give me a song that I haven't put on yet.
Put that there. Put on Electric Eyes.
Electric Eyes. Mysterious.
Just trying to imagine them.
Yeah, what's it about?
What they would be like.
You have to listen, find out. What the fuck are you drinking out of now? Drinking out of a cat's bowl.
Still on the piss, aren't you?
No, it's tea. I got tea.
When I say on the piss, I mean
Japanese tea.
Dave.
Look, I got a little teapot as well today.
You can. You little cunt.
What?
Yeah. What are you doing? What's happened to you?
Pouring some tea. Cheers. What?
I forgot to ask, Dave, how's your head? He was wankered last night, wasn't he?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I had to carry him into his house.
He'd
had 2 cobras.
It's a bit of an exaggeration. I was fine, thanks.
He said he was starting to feel it after 2. But then he quaffed loads of wine when we got back. So.
But he did. So they signed to Infectious Records in 94. We've spoken about them quite a lot on the podcast. So home to
Infectious Records.
Yeah.
Symposium, was it?
Symposium. Yeah. Popple Eat Yourself as well. Put out stuff.
I knew A&R, didn't I? We've spoken about it. I went to university.
Well, we can talk about it in a minute. Yeah, you can bore the audience with your tales. So they put out a mini album called Trailer. Although it's 9 tracks on it, it's not so mini.
No. It's not mini at all, is it? That's like 1 track less than an album.
Yeah.
I don't know if some albums are 8 tracks. I think the Cure's last album was 8 tracks.
But yeah, so singles from it, Petrol, again, Jack Names the Planets, I think got a reissue, and Uncle Pat, big songs from there, started getting picked up by Steve Lamacq, played on Evening Session, and started to build up a bit of momentum, and 95 was their breakout year. So we talk about it in the podcast, but yeah, so Tim and Mark finished their A-levels and left school, and as did we in 95. So, and we talk about it in the interview, but I totally remember Tim opening his A-level results live on the Evening Session, and on the day that we had our own A-level results.
Dave, what did you get in your English A-level, just out of interest?
Well, why don't we say what we got in all our A-levels?
Let's do the English one first.
Not just pick one.
Let's just do the English one first to start off with. If
well,
we all
my
do
whole life, my whole life changed because I got a C instead of the B I needed.
What did I get in
really?
the English A-level, Dave?
Don't know. You?
I got a B in my English A-level, you see.
Luke,
did you do it? You did do it. Oh, you got a C.
I did. I got a C in English.
That's where the Let's just end it there, shall we? Let's just end it there.
What did you get in sociology, Neil?
I did all right in sociology, yeah. I got
what'd you get?
I got a C in sociology, I think. What'd you get?
Oh, funny you should ask. I got an A. Oh yeah, I think I probably was one of only 2 people in the class to get an A, and I think the other ones had like a private tutor and stuff. But it's not. I don't even remember. I think it was an A. I can't remember clearly. Yeah.
You didn't get an A.
I did.
Dave, did you get any A's?
Yeah, maths and physics. AA.
Did you? Oh, it's just
Ah,
English.
swap.
You failed.
Yeah,
Should
I
have
thought I was
you
like
could have
a polymath, but it turned out I wasn't.
you'd have had my English
Yeah.
brain. You'd have your whole life would have changed.
Well, I would have got onto the course I applied for. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get a B in English, Neil? You don't know any words.
Fuck that.
I reckon it was a mix-up.
Dave still thinks it was a yeah.
But even before that, they started playing around, and they toured with Elastica and Babes in Toyland. This was during the Easter holidays in their final year of A levels, and he talks about it in the interview. Yeah, had to get permission from the headmaster to go on tour with Elastica.
That's mad.
I thought that was a joke.
No.
Really?
What I can't believe about that is that the headmaster actually said yes.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, obviously
wouldn't
that's
have
the
let us
right
go,
thing
would
to
he?
do, but yeah, I don't reckon a priesty.
Not allowed time off to go to a funeral nowadays.
No, that's what I mean. To give it's like time off to go be rock stars. That's a cool headmaster, isn't it?
It's rock and roll. So first singles, like post like the mini album stuff. So Kung Fu, first one to be released. I think it got single of the week in NME, number 57 on the charts.
Rightly so.
And rightly so. Apparently it was written by Tim in 5 minutes on Boxing Day in 1994. And they recorded it the next day in one take, using the Verve's equipment. Apparently so.
Oh, that's a good story.
Because Owen Morris, who produced pretty much their first few albums,
he was working,
yeah. So he, worked with the Verve on a Northern Soul, which was what was happening there. He worked with
okay.
Oasis, of course. So he was, working with them. So they just used their equipment and recorded it.
That's
And
cool.
one take, and that's it. Classic Eric Cantona Kung Fu kick on the cover.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing. So one of the B-sides of it was a song called, let me get this right, Luther Ingo's Star Cruiser. Now, it was so rude, it had to be replaced on further versions of it. And I tried to find a copy of like the original one online, and I just can't find it. The song. Do you want me to, the song? I've got the lyric. Do you want me to read you the lyrics?
Read some of it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's two things I really like. One's kicking migs. I don't know what that is. That like a Northern Ireland slang? Is that like similar to mix? I don't know. Anyway, one's kicking migs. The other's thumping birds. First, I'm going to kill them all. Then I'm going to fuck you. Oh, baby, I want to fuck you up the arse. I'm going to gamble. I'm going to fuck you. Oh, baby, I want to fuck you up the ass. Up the ass. And it goes on like that. Which sounds very out of character, doesn't it?
Sexually explicit at worst.
Yes, exactly.
It's not bannable though, surely.
No, I guess not. But it was replaced by a song called "Dare the Triffids." On
quite poetic, isn't it?
Yes.
It's no worse than "Smack Your Bitch Up," is it?
I guess so.
Well, that got banned, though, didn't it?
Smack My Bitch Up. The video got banned. I think the song didn't get banned. Yeah.
Right.
Next single to be released was "The Girl from Mars," hitting number 11 in the charts, and I think it's a perfect pop song. Basically, it's probably still my favorite Ash song. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a good description.
Yeah.
Perfect pop.
It's got that false ending, right? I love a false ending.
Yeah, it's good. It just reminds me
if you watch
times university, hazy summer university days, listening to Ash, pretty good, isn't it?
It's just before, wasn't it? Yeah.
And
as I said in the interview, like if you watch the Top of the Pops, it says right at the beginning, Tim is awaiting his A-level results next week. It says on the Top of the Pops. Yeah,
it's pre that.
It was recorded a couple of months before, and then came out just as the results were coming out. And then third single, the album hadn't even been released yet. Already we're 3 singles in. Angel Interceptor.
See, that's another. Right. That's what I mean about the university thing. The album came out when we were at university, right?
That's true. The album did come out when we were at university. In '96 it came out. Right. Yeah, you're right.
But why don't they do that more often?
Well, they used to. They used to build it up, didn't they? Singles, and build it up to the album.
Seems to make more sense to do that.
Yeah.
It's all changed
Yeah.
now, isn't it?
I guess now it
No one
doesn't
listens
because
to
there's no
albums
top of the
anymore,
pops.
do they?
And no one listens to albums like you claim. Another Enemy single of the week, number 14 in the charts, and they're basically a pretty big band. And so I think there was a fourth single released as well, but I can't remember which one it was. Maybe Goldfinger or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Goldfinger.
So the first album, 1977, came out in 96 and hit number 1 on the charts with their debut album. And listen to this. They were the first Irish band to get to number 1 with their debut album.
That's interesting.
How about that?
What?
So U2 didn't do it
You too, I was going to say. You
on their
do.
debut
I don't-
album.
I don't believe it.
Thin Lizzy didn't do it. The Cause didn't do it. Ash.
Dave, what bit don't you believe?
You must be wrong.
Apparently so. Now's a
about
good time,
Enya?
Neil, for you to tell Enya. No.
Tell what?
Now's a good time for you to tell your story, your 1977 story, Neil. Go on.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
God.
I went to the I went to the launch. But I went
No,
to the
it's a good
launch.
story. Go on.
Yeah, I went to the launch for the 1977 album in London because one of my best mates at uni, his best mate was their A&R guy at Infectious, so he got us all on the guest list, and it was great. Yeah, when
It's quite
they
a long
played,
chain, though, isn't it? How many people removed were you? 5?
yeah, about that. Well, anyway, we managed to get on the guest list. Yeah, so they played the album in its entirety. It's great, and then all the oiks left, and obviously just the VIPs were left, including myself. And it was great. Like they had stormtroopers serving tequila because they're all like Star Wars fans. Sorry, Luke.
Do you want to explain what they are to Luke?
What, a stormtrooper? They're the
I know what a
the white-
stormtrooper
the
is.
Tall white
Ah.
guys.
Yeah.
So there was those.
Which, of course, came out in 1977 as well.
Yeah. So
Oh,
there was
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it was just driven. Yeah, I can't remember much of it because
Who
drinking
did you
back
knob
then,
hop with?
Yeah. Did you
No,
see
I
Baby
don't-
and Sporty Spies?
I don't remember any of that. But we did sort of, because there was 4 of us, 4 lads. I think the press thought we were in a band, so we got our photos taken with the stormtroopers and stuff up against this big like press screen. I think they thought we were in some sort of band. It was good. It was just a great night. It's a good story that I can tell, isn't it?
It is a good story. It is. Your only story, but it's a good one, man. It's good.
It was good. I went for a few gigs via that contact. It was good. They were massive at the time,
They were, yeah. So yeah, 2 more singles. Goldfinger got to number 5. Oh yeah, got to number 6. We talked about it in the Summer Lyrics podcast episode, and I love that song. Oh yeah,
Yes, great. Another summer smash, isn't it?
Summer Smash. Yeah, and in 1997 they headlined Glastonbury, and Mark became the youngest person to headline Glastonbury.
That's good, isn't it? And
It's
he
rubbish,
still
that,
is.
It's not true.
Well, so this is a bit of controversy. So listen to the
Dave,
interview.
stop saying stuff's not true all the time.
Yeah. Why do you not believe stuff?
I'm a skeptic.
Yeah. Septic. Well, some people say that Billie Eilish has now replaced him as the youngest person but listen to the interview to find out the truth. And yeah, they toured America with Weezer, and got pretty big over there. And around this time, Charlotte Hatherley, who was in a band called Night Nurse, joined as a 4th member on guitar, doing backing vocals and stuff like that. But
Who
as
did
a
that
second
song?
guitarist, basically.
Night Nurse.
Is that Sly and Robbie?
No, it was a 90s band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Night Nurse.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I know exactly
it
the song
reggae?
you're talking about. It's like a reggae
I
light.
think someone
thing,
might have
isn't
done a remix of it, though. Simply Red featuring Sly and Robbie. Did a
it? Okay,
version of
yeah.
Night Nurse.
I had it simply read in my head, but then
That
I
wasn't
thought
the
it was Sly
song
and
I was
Robbie.
thinking about.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, so I was right. Okay.
Well, I was thinking of
Now, here's an
different
interesting one. Dave, you'll like this, and you're going to not believe this as well. But the Night Nurse, the band that Charlotte was in. I think it was after she left, but they were the first band to ever release a single as an MP3.
Oh yeah. Sounds about right.
It's in 98. Yeah, I don't know if they were the first in the
98.
UK or the first ever in the world, but I think they were the first ever in the world. Yeah.
The timeline adds up, I think.
There were MP3s before that, but to release their single as an MP3, they were the first band.
Yeah.
So the first offering with the new band was Life Less Ordinary track for the soundtrack of this film of the same name.
That's one
You've
of
seen
my
that? Ewan
favourite
McGregor,
Ash.
Cameron
It's one of my
Diaz.
favourite. I haven't seen the film, but I
think I
love the
have seen
video,
that,
and
yeah.
that's one of my favourite Ash tracks.
Yeah.
Isn't the video? The video's shot in
Um,
America, isn't it? But the video's part is cuts between the film and them, doesn't it?
I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, I think it's quick. It's a high budget one. We'll talk about that afterwards as well. But
So their second album, New Clear Sounds, came out in 98, got to number 7 in the charts. A little bit rockier and kind of heavier, I guess, than the kind of more kind
Yeah.
of poppy, punky sound of the first album. But again, listen to the interview to find out about it. Mark kind of talks a lot about it and how a lot of it was re-recorded and stuff like that. But there are a few big songs from it. Jesus Says, Numbskull was both pretty big. But it wasn't very well received by critics and the public alike. And
no.
the band weren't doing too well basically around this time. So Tim apparently kind of
Difficult
disappeared
second
for a
album,
while.
isn't it?
Difficult second album.
Difficult second
He kind of
album.
and Tim was kind of suffering from depression for like a year and a half and kind of disappeared and stuff like that. And Mark talks about it in the interview, but yeah, they were basically on the brink of bankruptcy and completely
Dave's
burnt
not having
out.
any of it.
But they were saved by video games. But again, listen to the interview to find out. So Tim decided to kind of go back to his roots, move back to his parents' house in Northern Ireland. And apparently he was writing like a song a day for like 6 months just to kind of get into the habit of writing songs and training himself to get better and taking the pressure off. It's like every single song he writes has to be like a work of genius when, songwriting's, all about, getting better. And and apparently the band used to come over and, practice in the garage a bit like we used to, in my garage. Exactly like that, I expect.
I mean, it's a similar story, really, isn't it?
It is. And it worked, basically. So third album, Free All Angels, came out in 2001 and was another
Great
number
album.
1 album. It's a great album.
Great album.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a balance between the first 2 albums. It's got a bit of a poppier, punkier sound, but it's also got the heavier riffs from the second album on it as well. It's great. Burn, Baby Burn is probably the most well-known song from there, I think.
Shining Light, surely.
Shining Light.
Shining Light.
That's interesting because I didn't pick up on that, but
Well, it's
I
probably
mean,
too
it won.
That one's probably been mainstream for you.
It is. That must be the problem, right? So it won the Ivor Novello Award for songwriting for that year. It was covered by Coldplay and Annie Lennox, and apparently Noel Gallagher was talking about how great it was as well. And I don't really know it that well. Shining Light.
Oh, it's a great
So-
song. Go and put it on the radio.
You would have.
No, yeah. As soon as I heard it, I do know it, but not as well as other Ash
Yeah, it was
songs
a big-
that I know.
Were you in Japan at the time? No.
No, just before.
No,
yeah.
no. It was a bit. I know it was on the radio in Rio a lot, so it had a lot of radio play in the daytime when I was gardening and stuff. So
And apparently the title comes from he saw a Hell's Angel. It was doing like security at one of their gigs, and he had a T-shirt that said "Free All Angels,"
no, that's cool.
as in like all Hell's Angels that are in prison. Free to
Right.
free them out.
Ah, gotcha. Free All Hell's Angels. Different ring to it, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Free All Angels is better, isn't it?
Kind of changes the whole vibe.
Why are they
Yeah, I
in
mean
prison?
they're in prison for a reason, right?
Free All Hell's Angels is good, isn't it? Though?
Well, no, because they're in prison for a reason. Basically, Tim said about that album, Free All Angels, that if that hadn't have been good, then their career would have ended then and there, basically. And I think Mark says something similar in today's interview. So
A lot of these albums, it's like he said, sustained them through the 2000s. Like, they just probably just wouldn't have been a band if that hadn't have worked out. Well, they might be now. They might have come back and done, reformed, but they would have taken.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm quite middle of the road. But I prefer everything from that album onwards than the first two.
Oh,
Are
really?
you like that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I just never was into 1977, even though I can appreciate they were good songs. Just didn't
Fair
enjoy
enough.
it much.
Each to their own, man. Each to their own.
Yeah.
We talk about it in the interview, but around this time, they made a never-released horror movie called
wanna
Slashed with
see
their
that.
musician friends. Apparently, Chris Martin plays an FBI agent.
Why is it never been released?
I don't know. And it's got Moby in it and Dave Grohl in it. And
Maybe
stuff
through
like
the
Really?
podcast we can get this released.
All right, the campaign starts here. Get it finished. Get the old crew back
let's
together.
get it out.
Chris Martin can still do it and finish it off.
Great.
Come on. All right, I'm just going to go through the latter half of their career. So, fourth album, Meltdown, came out in 2004, number 5 in the charts. A couple of years later, 2006, Charlotte leaves, in inverted commas, the band. Listen to the interview to find out more about that. Twilight of the Innocents in 2007 got to number 32 in the charts. And after this album, Tim said that they were never going to release albums anymore. This is back in
Right.
2007, and he's saying people don't listen to albums anymore. We're not going to bother releasing
Told
any
you, didn't
albums.
I?
Started in September 2009. They released a 7-inch single every 2 weeks for a year. So the first one was called A, second one was B, and then they
Right.
went up until Z. So
don't
26
remember
times
this.
2, so a year.
No one listens to albums, but they're releasing 2 this year, aren't they? Or something?
So here you go. So their 6th album, Kablamo, came out in 2015. So they started releasing albums basically. But they did have a break of 8 years, which is fair. Got to number 41. 7th album, Islands, which I really liked when it came out. That came out in 2018. Got to number 18 in the charts. I guess they're
not bad.
still popular, but you have to sell less these days. But they're still a popular band.
Mm.
And their 8th album, Race the Night, we talk about it in the interview, came out on Fierce Panda last year, got to number 14 in the charts. They're still going strong, and they are going to release 2 albums this year, so they claim. And that is Ash.
All right. So let's have a listen to the interview and then we'll have a chat afterwards. Here's Mark from Ash. Enjoy. Mark, thanks so much for coming on. How are things? Are you done touring for the year, I guess, now? Right, that's all finished.
Yeah, we kind of did I think we were out in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore after the sort of full season. So that was about 6 weeks ago now, actually. So I've actually been in this weeks and I just got into the UK again yesterday. Heading back to Ireland for Christmas, and then I guess the next thing we do as far as like touring goes is like the Darkness in March. So that'll be like I think it's the whole month, pretty much into April. With the Darkness.
Like the Darkness, was it?
Yeah. That should be fun. I think it was 20 years ago we first played with them. That was on their debut album when they just blew up massively, and they were doing
I remember it.
Out of the just went mega. And we supported them on that arena tour 20 years ago, and then it was 6 months ago we got asked to do it again, and we were like, yeah, it could be awesome because they were fun bunch.
Yeah. They've had a bit of a resurgence lately as well, haven't they? Because with his podcast and stuff, he's doing all right, isn't he?
I think, from what I can see, like the resurgence is all based around the podcast. I mean, or the podcast has helped, into the oblivion again. Like, we play at Latitude Festival this summer, and the crowd that I saw at Latitude for the Darkness might have been the largest. I mean, I don't know numbers, but
really?
festival crowd I've ever seen anywhere.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
That was Robbie Williams, like that kind of level.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was.
It's good. Yeah, it's a good podcast though. If you watch it, it is good. I do like Justin Hawkins.
Yeah. He is a funny guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he knows his stuff as well, right? He knows his music. He's like right on it.
Yeah, I mean he's a brilliant guitarist and fantastic singer.
Yeah.
Excellent. writer as well, so
Cool.
Yeah.
you can talk about it. Maybe you don't like me.
How about new music? Are you working on anything like that at the moment?
Yeah, we've had well, Tim's finishing lyrics and singing on what might end up being 2 albums like next year.
Oh wow.
2.
Yeah, potentially. When second one will come out is still TBC or TBD. But we'll definitely have one of them out next year, and
Nice.
maybe, but maybe not. It just depends on what the label wants to do and when. But we originally had one album which we actually started. We actually started it well before the lockdown, and very like it was very it was all over the place, sort of like as far as like song types. You had like one half which was quite pop and like synth oriented and like that kind of production, and then another half which was more guitar based. So then at one point we decided, right, rather than put out this real schizophrenic album, we're gonna like write some more songs and finish the rock side and release that, which that ended up being our last album, Race Tonight.
Yeah.
And then we thought, okay, so we've got all these other synthy songs, we'll put them on one album and put it out. So that was going to be our next album. And then the Darkness tour came along, and we thought it wouldn't really be the right kind of sound maybe for that tour. So we thought, well,
Right.
we'll go back in the studio, finish a bunch of songs, put out another guitar album for next year around the Darkness, and then hopefully put out the synth album later in the year as a sort of a follow-up kind of thing. So again, we've had plans to do things, and then they've
Sure.
change. But at the minute, that's the kind of like thinking, but nothing concrete, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Can I ask a bit? The last album, you put it out on Fierce Panda Records, right? We talk about them a lot on the podcast. How did that come about after all these years?
Oh, because I mean, years ago, Simon put out a 7-inch of us. Before we even released, I thought, was it before? It might have been before we signed with Infectious originally, or it might have been around that time, and they just let them do it as a sort of like a one-off. Because I mean, whenever Simon was at the Enemy, it made a lot of sense for able to like do like a little like thing with Fierce Panda, and then there was like a bit of synergy with the paper as well. Well, that kind of worked back then, and it was like a song called Punk Boy, which we put out on a 7-inch with them. I think there was actually might have been 4 bands on that 7-inch. I think.
Okay.
Well, I think it was actually the first 7-inch of Caught by the Fog.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I recorded that, for their proper album. I might be wrong, but what it is.
I'll have to look that up. I've got his book. I'll have to look it up. He's got all the stuff in the back. Okay.
I think there's a 7-inch with like 4 bands on it, and it's like us, Supergrass, there's 2. I just can't remember.
That's all right.
That's great. That's amazing, though.
Oh yeah. I guess at some point, maybe a couple of years ago, we were about to put out the Race Tonight album through a different label, and literally like 1 or 2 days before the contract was to be signed with the other label, our management was just in the bar catching up with Simon Williams, and they were just having a chat, and Simon basically asked what we were up to, and Pat said, "Oh yeah, we've got an album coming out on this other label," and then he just said to her, "Why don't Fierce Panda put it out?" And she was like,
"There you go."
So then things changed, and we went with Fierce Panda.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. That's great.
We had like a relationship with Simon from a long time ago, and then also, I don't know, it just felt right. It just felt right.
Yeah.
Oh man, they were so important to the whole '90s scene, right? Fierce
Yeah.
Panda.
And then whenever the album came out, they were able to they really put a lot of work into it and got it back in the first time we had for I think well over 10 years anyway. So because we did some self-releasing and some other stuff like that, but it was nice to be back in the charts after quite a while.
Yeah.
And then we did like a sort of like on the album on the week of release, we went and toured around like a lot of the record stores, did sort of in-store circuit, and Simon
that's cool.
Q&As, during it was like acoustic stuff, and then Q&As with Simon, which were really fun. We haven't really done that kind of thing before.
Cool. It's interesting you said you got a synth album in the works, because the artwork, I was giving a heavy Neil Young trance album from the artwork, so I thought you were going to say that was your synth album.
Which one?
The last album. It's
the artwork.
Yeah.
Definitely. The artwork for that album, we were kind of like trying to go for like a real 80s thing, and then that kind of followed through to some of the videos. But yeah, quite a few people have sort of said the artwork looked like a synth rock album cover.
It looks like Neil Young's synth rock album, Trance. It's almost the same.
Yeah. We worked with a really good illustrator called Pete. What's the second name? Pete. He's a Northern Irish illustrator. Anyway, he does a lot of big work. Pete, yeah, he does a lot of work. It's on the credits. He does a lot of work with Disney and like quite big companies stuff. So, and he's from Northern Ireland as well. So it just felt like a good fit.
That looks great.
Yeah, it turned out really well.
Cool.
We were happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. All right. Can you take us back to those heady late 80s, early 90s school days? Was there any kind of specific event? Was there a trigger for you and Tim to start making music together?
Well, I had moved to Downpatrick from like Downpatrick's pretty rural, but I came from like a rural village, about 20 miles from there. And my dad he had to move due to work, so we moved I was the new kid in town, and like Tim was the first person, well, actually the second person I'd met.
Wow.
In town. And so we kind of just became friends, and we were kind of both into heavy metal. We had like denim jackets with like metal back patches and studs and all stuff. We red Krang.
Battle jacket, nice.
I was at the time I had a Megadeth back patch, and he had like a. So we were like metal kids. We read Krang, and we just
you must have been super young, but you must have been really, really young, no?
Yeah, we're 11.
11.
Nice.
No, I mean, I was listening to fucking Paula Abdul and shit when I was 11. How did you get into metal so early?
Well, I remember whenever we did our like 11 plus exams, which was like the exam back then, getting into high school. I remember because I passed that exam, I got like a my first Walkman, like a little tape, and then I got like with it, I got like Michael Jackson's The Bad album.
Mate, that's my first ever album too.
And I didn't. I mean, it was the first time I'd really even. I mean, I'd be obviously aware of music, but it was the first time I owned music, if you know what I mean. So that listening to it was, it was cool. I had some good songs on it, but it really wasn't. It wasn't connecting with me, I guess. And then I was a market stall in Downpatrick years ago. And this guy probably actually is quite formative in kind of like our kind of musical, I guess, evolution. This guy called John, who used to run a market stall in Downpatrick, and he would have all like cassette tapes out of I think he had some vinyl, but it was mostly tapes, and it was mostly metal as well. And we would go down there. We would play after school. We would go down there and look at all his tapes. And it was mostly the artwork on the album covers that kind of drew attention, because it was at that point. but we're just like, oh, there's all this Iron Maiden stuff, and it had like the Eddie artwork and everything.
Yeah, it looked great.
And
Yeah.
like an F artwork, and I was like, I've always been really into art. I did art in school and stuff, so I think I was drawn to the artwork, and so I was like, all right, what should I get here, kind of thing. And I actually think I picked up the Killers album by Iron Maiden just because I liked
That's
art,
good.
and that was like
It's a great album.
And then I liked that, and then I started getting. I mean, that was me into metal then,
Yeah.
and all the Maiden albums and Megadeth albums, and I guess Tim was he was into Metallica and some different stuff, but like similar stuff, and he was in Wasp, and so we started. We're kind of like friends who like metal. We were also terrible at soccer, football. So in school, at lunchtime and after school and whatever, but we just weren't good. I was tall and lanky and didn't have the coordination. Tim was like really small and not, we were never going to be professional footballers. No. So when you're trying to sort of think up of ideas or dreams, sort of how are we going to escape the 9 to 5?
Sure.
Because we were reading Kerrang magazine, that was our favorite thing. But whenever Kerrang hit the newsagent, I was getting that every week. Reading all the sort of wild stories of like these bands in LA and their crazy lifestyles, it just felt so far where we were. It was just another world, and it became kind of a dream. And it was like, yeah, we could do that someday. So, before we even had guitars, we started a band. I remember once we would do our own concerts in a bedroom. Like we just like play music, and then we'd have tennis rackets and stuff, and pretend that we were like jumping up and down in the bed. It was a bit like Bill and Ted Adventure kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, we were literally children at 11 years old. So, but we started a band we thought, let's start a band. And he was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? I'll be the keyboard player. This is me. I'll be the keyboard player. And him was like, okay, I'll be the guitar player. And then we got like about 4 other guys in our school year sort of joined this hypothetical band. And it was, I remember we would have these nights where a couple of friends had Sky TV, and all we wanted to do was go and watch the WWF wrestling. So we'd like have these sleepovers and do like WrestleMania event or whatever. We'd all watch that, and we'd all be hyped up, and then we'd fighting each other as part of like the part of the party. And then it was basically the wrestling crowd who had this fake band. And after a couple of weeks of talking about it, it was just me and Tim that continued to talk about it. The others were, whatever. And we thought, right, let's follow through on this and get guitars. So we asked for Christmas whenever we were still 11. Yeah, 11. Santa brought like out of the back page. Frank used to have this, classified in the back of the.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing they had mail order guitars, and I think it was like 89 quid. Well, back then, but it was
yeah.
It was right on the border of like, is this taking the piss if I ask my parents, to get?
It's a lot, yeah.
And then, but I kind of like just went for it, and I didn't expect to get it, but they did. Like then, this full on, shit. It was giant bass.
Sure. That's amazing. Me and Neil did exactly the same thing, but we were about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
We didn't experience the same level of success, unfortunately.
Not quite.
Get it going.
Yeah. That was Christmas morning when I got the bass. I tried to pick it up, and I had always, instinctively just play guitar like that because I'm left-handed. But then the bass, I didn't even think about it whenever, Santa didn't even think about it when he delivered it. It was like, it was a regular right hand.
Oh, right.
But I had to like just like train my brain to like
Oh,
play
wow.
it. But
Do you still
because
play right-handed one?
yeah,
Yeah.
because it
Mm.
I do. I just had to learn. It did
Yeah.
it because I didn't know the other way.
Yeah.
Once I learned, that was it.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So the into metal, I mean, did you start getting into like grunge and stuff when that came out?
Yeah, well, there was so for a few years we were actually, I think it was Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. I knew Tim was getting a guitar as well, and he had this like unbranded Destroyer guitar, like very metal look. Mine was this great, it was like it's sort of like a knockoff precision Fender thing.
Yeah.
So we got together on Boxing Day, and right from day one, because we didn't know what to do with these things. We got them. We're like, okay, what do we do now, kind of thing. Oh, if we do this, we press this at the same time, then it's the same. You know, if we tune it and we do
Yeah.
the same at the same, then it kind of worked. There, Tim didn't know chords at that point. I had no clue what I was doing, so it was like we just started, and we couldn't learn covers or anything because we didn't know how to play yet. So it was right from day one we just started writing our own songs.
Mm.
Wow,
Oh, wow.
that's amazing. Right from the start,
Yeah.
you literally sort of learned everything together. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then we started to like record little demos like within the first few weeks
Oh, wow.
of our own songs.
It's amazing.
That was kind of how we got going. And also, I guess the mentality was not. I mean, we did over time as we learned what we were doing, we started to be able to play other stuff. But right from the start, we were always writing our own music.
It's amazing.
That's interesting.
Or in a way, it wasn't like we had learned guitars and then formed the band. It was like
Yeah.
we and then started.
Sure.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I mean, that was the peak time of like subcultures, right? What were you? Were you a Grebo, Grunge, metaler?
Okay, so we were wannabe metal kids. We were into metal. We liked all the sort of pantomime of it, I guess, and the flashiness of it, and the really insane intricacy of all the solos and everything. But
Yeah.
but when you get guitars and you're just starting to learn how to play, you can't. It's impossible to actually do any of that stuff. I mean, that's probably
Metal's hard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we were trying to be like that, and in our demos we're trying to be like really complicated, but just not pulling it off. So and we actually we formed a band called Vietnam, and there was five of us at one point. And two people in the band were much older. Like when I say much older, they were like 17.
Sure.
Right. Old for you guys, yeah.
Yeah, we were like 12 and 13 probably 13 at the time. And so we started doing some shows actually in our school and like leisure center and local arts center. And every time we attempted to put on a gig, it was like an absolute disaster. Where the singer actually walked off. The singer, I mean, he was a lovely guy, but he just didn't have an ear for time. So he would start singing whenever he felt like it, without any kind of connection to the music behind it. It was
Yeah,
quite.
do that.
It was quite. I've never actually encountered anyone else who just didn't get it. Like,
Yeah.
So he would start singing songs and then get really frustrated because it was obviously not working with the music. And the band was kind of in the same ball. And so he would just like walk off. And he did this like on 3 different occasions where we had started a gig and he'd walk off stage. It was actually on the 3rd show where we kind of like were prepared for him to walk off stage the third time.
Right. So you had a backup plan.
Yeah, we just had a plan. We're like, what? Well, if I'm not going to say his name, just to not embarrass the guy, but like,
Nah.
If singer walks off stage, him's going to like just go and take the mic and just he didn't even know the lyrics, just take over, like on the spot kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that actually that did somewhat that kind of happened on the third show, which was in Down Patrick Leisure Centre, in front of there was probably like maybe 100 people in that crowd, 100 kids, all like into sort of like indie music or not, alternative kind of music. So and we had already been like the laughing stock of town twice, and it was like another kind of like, I mean, it wasn't great that third show, but it was like at that point we sort of like, okay, these guys got to go, so we sort of like cut the other three guys, the drummer, a singer. The drummer again was his problem was, I mean, he could keep time, but he couldn't do the third part. So like, so for example, and then anytime he went to go ahead of crash, everything else
just throw him off.
Right. Okay.
So
it's hard though, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that was his job, was to play drums.
True.
You're a drummer, you got to do that.
That's true.
We sort of like, we basically just like said, right, Vietnam's done. We're not Vietnam. Or it was, I can't remember if Tim and I decided that we left so that we didn't have to sack them.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
Kind of did something.
That's easier, isn't
it? So Vietnam was no more, and then we kind of started looking for a new drummer, and within, I would say, maybe a few months' time, we had found Rick, who was literally like the last person in town who we could find, because everyone who was a drummer was, because there was a really good little scene in Downpatrick. There was like a lot of bands, and this was like around Nirvana were like taking off, and the grunge scene was exploded, and we had started to sort of like, there was a band older than us in school called Laser Gun None, who were a couple, maybe 3 years older than us in school, and they had played at one of these epic failure shows that we had attempted to play at, like, and we were just like completely like in awe of them. It was like, this, whatever these guys are doing, it was like they were playing punk music, and we were like, that's so much cooler than what we're trying to do, because we had,
right,
genre. It was just like, it was raw. It was just like chords. It was like shouty vocals, and we were like, oh, we want to be like them, But and they kind of like helped turn us on to a lot of music that we weren't aware of, which was really good. So I think they're probably the single most important influence that we've ever had.
Wow,
was that band in high school, because they opened us up to like a whole,
like who did you start listening to after that?
Well, Nirvana, Iggy Pop, Stooges, Mudhoney. I mean, a lot of the grunge stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, well, it comes through in Ash's sound, right? A lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more. I mean, we got lumped in with Britpop for a while, but more so our sound. I mean, I think our sound definitely was, especially on the Trailer album, the first one. It was more American.
Yeah.
Feel to it.
Yeah.
We felt like we were somewhat not in the middle, but like our aspirations were across the pond.
Interesting.
Music. We weren't. I mean, we did listen to British music, but it was more American music.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you talk about you're playing schools and leisure centres and stuff. So a million kids play their schools and make a racket with their mates in their bedroom, but they don't take that extra step, right? Making demos, getting signed, stuff like that. How did you make that extra leap that most people can't do?
Very DIY. I mean, from playing like, there was a really, really good little live scene in Downpatrick and in Belfast at the time. So there's like a lot of like bands who were putting on these little shows in the back rooms of bars, doing their own artwork, post-flight, posted all over town, making demos. So like when you go out into like the local record store, there was a section for like your local bands who had made their own demos. So really,
That's cool.
thing kind of had to do if you wanted to
Wow.
be in that scene. So like we were really driven, sort of like make friends in that scene and sort of like be part of it and do our own posters and just learn what everyone else was doing. And so we actually used to make copies of our own demos and sell them to the record stores, like small independent record stores in Belfast. And we got to the point where we actually sold a couple hundred copies of. You know, at the time we would by that point we were like about 15, and we had Rick had come into the band, and we had found him as the drummer of like he played drums in his church, and it was like the most uncool. But it was like he's the only guy we can find, so let's get him here.
He'll do. Yeah.
Could hold the beat, which was great compared to the guy before. So
yeah.
Rick joined, and then I think on the day of our first practice, or maybe the second practice actually, we got like a dictionary out, and like we were like around that time there was like a lot of bands who had one-word names, you know.
Yes.
There was Nirvana, there was
Blur, Suede, Oasis.
Blur.
Yeah.
I was before Oasis, I think.
You were before.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
And it was more around the time of like Ride, and
okay, yeah.
We just got a dictionary out and started looking down A, and it wasn't very long before Ash. We went, oh, Ash. And we were like, that'll do.
That'll do.
Yeah.
It works, man. It totally works.
It does, yeah, it does.
It wasn't wasn't that we even loved the name at the time. It was, okay, that'll do. That's fine.
That's great.
So in those early days, did you bag yourself a manager, or were you sort of doing it all yourselves?
We were doing it. I mean, we were doing everything ourselves. I mean, to some extent, I was like pushing like a lot of like doing the demos, and we got into like a very small local. It was a little a little recording studio in Strangford. There was a guy who was a teacher in one of the local schools, recorded a lot of like country music, and then the band Later Gone None, who was like the band who was really that we looked up to. We heard they recorded a demo in there, and we were like, oh, what's that? Like, you can go and record. And so then it was like saving like Christmas or saving like all our like lunch money from school to like get to go and record.
No.
And that's how the demos came about. And the guy died a few years back, but he was great. He was a guy called Ray Valentine. We called him Cosmic Ray. And he had some fantastic stories, and we'd go in there, and he had so many like catchphrases and stuff. He would say say time equals money and you've got none. Like, so basically, don't waste time. You have everything ready so that when you get in here you can just like so we would get like super rehearsed practice so that when we got in there it was like just knock them out, and we wouldn't we were 13 songs in one afternoon.
Wow.
Which that's what takes fucking years, but it was really good. It was like record one take, two takes maybe if we really messed it up, and then that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
right.
And it was going to be a track studio, but it actually functionally it was a 7-track studio because one was broken. So
yeah,
you're working with 7 tracks. You have to sort of like.
Well, that's it. It's all tape back then, wasn't it? It wasn't. You didn't have any of the Pro Tools and stuff.
Yeah, like it was there was no tape. It was like a cassette. Well, it was tape, but like not like the 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
Wow. And then it all started kicking off, right? So then,
well, it was because of those demos. So we recorded, I think, we did 3 demos in that place over like maybe the course of a year, and that ended up being about uh, over 30, so probably closer to 40 songs on those 3 demos.
Wow.
And a bunch of them ended up being used when we actually got signed.
Mm.
And that's right. So in high school, there was like a young enterprise scheme, and
Mm.
a lot of people make your own company and learn to sell
Yes.
some candles or picture frames that they would make. And I was like, so I was in it, and I was like, well, maybe this is a way for us to actually, because everyone up to that point we'd have been selling our demos on cassettes, and that was the only means for us to do that at that point. The dream was always to get vinyl because records were like much more, I guess, big time. They
Sure.
just look
Yeah.
They're proper. Yeah.
proper. Like, if you only proper bands get vinyl,
Yeah.
records, anyone for the tape kind of thing. So I thought, well, maybe there's a way for us to use this young enterprise thing to get an actual vinyl press. So we did record. We recorded a song, and we got like 3 other bands, because I said there was like a really good little scene in Downpatrick. So we got 3 other bands to sort of like do one song each, and the plan was to raise enough money to then get like a split 12-inch, like 4 bands would split like a 12-inch thing. So we got that done. We went around every shop in Downpatrick and sort of like just begged for like money off all like these like little shops, and actually they sort of like did it. It was like I was like selling them 25 quid adverts, and it was going to be like this just photocopied page which was going to be put inside the vinyl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had a raise of, I think it was like 800 quid. Again, back then that was a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, that's a lot.
I think got 500 vinyls. I think it was.
Mm.
I think it was 800. It might have been closer to 900. Anyway, we got the money. We raised it just by begging, and got that vinyl pressed, and that sold. I mean, we sold those through the stores or the local record shops, and then we had a friend who was like part of like that the Belfast scene I was telling you about. He sort of like nominated himself as a manager for a while, and took the fine. And he was a massive Carter USM fan, and also like really big Nirvana fan. And at the time, Carter's radio pluggers worked in a shoebox office in London, next door to Bad Moon Publicity, who was the PR agents for Nirvana. So he sent over the record to Eric, who worked at the gas company, who was working on Carter. So the vinyl ended up in their office, and then because they were like, I mean, the 2 offices were the size of this kitchen. It was tiny, and they heard, between the two offices, they heard it, and were obviously talking about it, and so then one guy who was working in the office, a guy called Tav, who became our manager, he said, right, I'm going to take a shot on these kids, and he sort of like got in contact and said, if I send over a couple hundred quid or whatever it was, will you go and record one song to be put out as a single? We thought, yeah, fantastic. So our manager Bill, who was like basically just a friend, he actually was able to get, he came back to us after being our manager for like a week and was like, all right guys, I've got you a single coming out from this label in London.
Sure.
And we were like, you're joking. No.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah.
And do you remember? We're still like 15-year-old. We're still kids. Actually, maybe at this point we're maybe 16. I think we were 16 by this time. And so Tav, who became our manager later, put out this single. It was like a 7-inch, and Japanese Planets, which was on one of the demos,
Mm,
and we re-recorded it.
mm.
He
Great
put out
track. Mm.
he put out 1,000 copies of the single, and because he was a radio blogger by job. He had good connections with Radio One.
Mm.
John Peel plays it,
There you
and
go.
and start, and everything takes off from there.
The rest is history. Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're still so young, as you say, right? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and me and Neil, we're exactly the same age as you and Tim, actually. And I've got this memory in my mind, and I don't know if it's a false memory, but I think I remember on the day we got our A-level
I
results.
doubt.
Were you and Tim on the evening session opening your A-level results live on air, or did I just dream this?
So Tim did. He did.
Okay, Tim did. Okay, I knew it was a thing. I googled it and I couldn't. Nothing came up. I thought I was imagining it.
He called.
Yeah,
I think it was Lamar.
yeah, that's it. I remember. Yeah, I was in the car listening. Yeah, yeah.
So he opened his results on air to Radio
Wow,
1.
that's brave.
I actually didn't finish high school, but that's another story. But so yeah, and then I think 2 or 3 days later after that, we were in Glastonbury playing Glastonbury Festival, and that was really whenever things started to flip. Because
Yeah.
in school, we had done up at that point. We had toured the UK with Elastica, and we're jumping forward. But we had toured with Elastica,
Wow.
and that was during the school year. I think that was around. I can't remember when it was in the year, but we got time off to go on do a UK tour with Elastica,
Right.
which was it was phenomenal. It was brilliant.
Did you have to get like permission from the headmaster to go and tour with Elastica?
Yeah. So I have he had to fly over and like wait in line outside the headmaster's office to talk to the headmaster on tour.
That's great.
That's good.
So we had done that, and things were just building up. We had held songs. We had specifically held back Girl from Mars because we thought we've kind of jumped forward a few years here because the trailer mini right before we had done before we even finished school. Is that right? I think it was.
Must have been. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then, but then, by the time of Glastonbury, oh, it's so long ago. I'm getting a bit mixed up.
It's all right. It's all right.
It was after the A-level opening on Radio 1. Then we went to that. Then I think pretty sure around that time was whenever Girl from Mars came out, and then things went from things had been building. So we had put out that mini album trailer. We had started to do tours. We had, we weren't just playing in local Belfast area anymore. We'd started, getting out across the UK, and then once Girl from Mars came out, it just went. That was it, which blew up.
Yeah, it's such a perfect
Really
pop
did
song
that.
though. That and Kung Fu, they're just like perfect pop. They're amazing.
Yeah, Kung Fu came out before Girl from Mars, and that was like it went number one in the indie charts, which were like it didn't hit top 40, but at that point, it was just building, and then the Eric Cantona cover really helped.
I was going to ask whose idea. I mean, you said you bought Iron Maiden for the cover. I'm pretty sure I bought Kung Fu, the CD single, without hearing it, just because of the cover.
Yeah, it was just like perfect timing because we had this song called Kung Fu was originally only supposed to be a B-side to the Angel Interceptor song, but once we did it in the studio, we're like, actually, maybe this song's better. And then Eric Cantona did the Kung Fu kick thing at Crystal Palace. Yeah. And someone, I think it might have been it was either our manager or Corda, who was the boss of Infections. Someone said, "Oh, we should just use our Cantona thing, put it on paper." So they did, and then that
so
really
good.
Helped.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and it is a great cover.
It came out, the Girl from Mars came out, and then as I said, everything just blew up at that point.
Yeah.
I came to the album launch for the 77 album. I can't remember where it was. It was in London, but I can't remember the venue now. It was with all the stormtroopers serving tequila and stuff. Do you remember?
That would have been, was that one of, it would have been, okay, so that, oh yeah.
See, so my
Was it,
my friend from uni was friends with Andy from Infectious, Andy
oh,
McIntyre.
I remember that.
So yeah, so that's how I sort of
Was it LA too?
might have been. Yeah, I think it was. It was good, great night though. Great night. The
Yeah,
boys from Symposium were there, and it was a good fun night.
it's possible that the Baby Spice was at that show with Sporty Spice as
Oh,
well.
More than likely, it was a big show. It was a big
wow.
show. You know, it was a
The LA2, it might have been the regular story upstairs.
yeah.
I-
But it was great. Yeah, I remember it. It was just yeah. Everything was just going massive for you guys. So it was a big night. It was really good fun. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, we ended up playing at the Astoria like over the years. We played it like over 20 times.
Mm,
Right,
mm.
fucking hell, that's loads.
Very far as like live venues went, and then it got
Yeah.
bulldozed. Just a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
It is a shame. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the Oh Yeah single. It was a great song. We had a special episode on 90s summer songs, and that was one of the top picks of the decade. But I want to ask about the video. Is that you snogging so in doing all that in the video? Yeah. I mean, whose idea was that?
It was just, I mean, it was just the director.
Okay.
They wrote like I think they wrote the script for it, and it was originally supposed to be Tim doing all that, but then Tim had a girlfriend at the time, and I think he just was not comfortable with it.
Right.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then it was like, the director was like, "What about Mark? Will he do it?" And I went, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Why not?
It's very noble of you. Yeah.
And yeah, the girl, she was like, she was very nice at the time,
Sure.
and it was like that video got shot over a pretty intense weekend. So we had rehearsals at Jules Holland in
Oh, wow.
somewhere in Europe on tour. So we had to fly from Europe in to do, I think we were maybe somewhere like Austin. We had to fly in to do rehearsal at Jules Holland, then fly back to Europe, do the gig, then fly to somewhere on the southwest coast where we shot that video. It was like one of those seaside towns.
It's like a fairground stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do video, fly back to Jules to do the actual recording for like the record day, because it's a 2-day thing with Jules, and then after the video shoot, get back out to where we were on tour, because it was like the video were like kind of like a lot of things are like last minute just thrown into the schedule, and the tour had been booked for months. So we had to fit things in, and we ended up having to be like helicoptered from one place to the next.
That's proper rock star shit, man. That's full on.
Because I mean, literally, because it was the only way that they could make it work.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's like Guns N' Roses style. That's cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty sweet. But I think, yeah, for 2 or 3 days, we really didn't even sleep properly.
Yeah.
But in the video, you see, fucked. I mean, that is real.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. Did you enjoy that side of it, making the videos and all that sort of thing? Do you enjoy that part of being in the band?
I think we didn't really think about it too much at the time, or like, it's not. At one point, it was more like a bit of a hassle almost. It's like, oh, we got to shoot a video.
Yeah.
We didn't think about them too much. We didn't really take control of the reins too much. It was like, yeah, we'd look at them and we go, yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
I would go along to the edits just to sort of like watch the edits and like make sure there was nothing that look cringe or something, you know.
So you have some creative control over it.
Yeah, the
Mm.
we didn't. I mean, we can get more involved with videos. I mean, videos now there's very little budgets for videos, but
Yeah, they're quite throwaway now, aren't they?
probably get away. Like the last video we did on Crash Out Wasted, that one, you know, it's hardly even be seen by anyone. But
yeah,
in my opinion, it's our best video we've ever made, and
yeah,
and it's just really fun. But we do get a lot more involved in them these days.
yeah.
I mean, that schedule you're talking about, it does sound insane, and you know, stuff I've read about the band, it kind of got burnt out pretty quickly. Is that true?
Well, so by the end of the sort of like the 1977 cycle, we had done like close to 2 years of touring, and because we were doing a lot of touring in the States as well back then, and we had done something like I think we were on the third US tour in a row, and we all thought we were. This was probably around mid to late September, I think, and we had already been out on the road for good part of, well, over a year by then, and we thought we were going home, and we were all because we were back then we were like caning it pretty hard, and so we were just wrecked, we're just tired, and then I mean every night was like you're drinking bottle of gin every night or whatever, and you can't. We just needed a break, and
that's not sustainable long term, is it?
Well, I mean, we were still young, so we still had the energy, but I think we just got the grind. We just got ground down after a certain point. But we thought we were going home, and we were kind of like, okay, we're going back home, or whatever it was. We were in the States, and our manager came and told us, "Oh, we've got another tour coming. It'll take us right the way up to Christmas." And I think in after Christmas through the New Year and into January. And I was just like, okay, all right. So we did it. It was, it was great touring, but by the end of that, I think it was probably maybe not 2 years, but getting close to 2 years of just touring. And we was wrecked.
Yeah.
So we took a little bit of time, but honestly, it didn't take long for us to sort of like recharge.
No.
Few months, and then we were in a residential studio it was south of Gatwick. It was like a farm. They called it Stanbridge Farm. We went there, and the whole plan was to just write and record demos for the second album.
Yeah,
I went there for about 3 months.
No.
Maybe not quite. Maybe it was a few months anyway, and Tim was struggling with a bit of writer's block because we were really prolific writing, up to that point. And
difficult second album. It's a classic.
We had all these demos. We used a lot of those songs on the trailer album in 1977. Back 1977, when we got in the studio, we had about maybe half of the album written before we went in the studio, and half was done. Or finished, very last minute. And then so when it came to like the second album, or Nuclear Sounds, it was starting from scratch, but it was also starting from scratch after 2 years of touring and not really being in writing mode, and all the sort of the craziness of that, being world first time really doing like extensive world tour. And to switch back to the sort of like creative side, that was a bit. It took a while to get those gears.
Yeah,
it's interesting. People don't talk about that much. That's a really interesting part of being in a band. I haven't heard many people speak about that. That's really interesting.
Well, I think if you're disciplined and if you put time aside every day and you've got quiet space and you've got time to continue writing. But we
Mm.
were every 3 seconds, we were like doing interviews because just no time to
Yeah.
wanted to do. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
able because being successful, everybody wanted to talk to us. So
Yeah.
that was good, but just meant it was for
Yeah.
right.
With no time.
So is this when you brought Charlotte into the band at this time?
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
she joined in that period before Nuclear Science came out.
How did that change the dynamic? Because you must have been pretty tight. You kind of all did all that stuff together to get there.
Yeah, I mean, we had part of that tour, part of that US touring. We'd been out in tour with Weezer around the States, and that was, you know, we were big fans of them. And then to watch them every night was really kind of like eye opening. That how they would like
Who? Sorry, who did you say? Sorry,
Weezer.
Weezer. Okay, wow, yeah.
How they used like 2 guitars and sort of like wove the guitars together. It wasn't just like one person
Right.
rhythm guy soloing all the time. Like it was like they kind of like weaved the guitars together.
Yeah.
I think when all that, he was like really like, oh, you know, that'd be great to be able to do that and have someone else, you know, on, because I don't sing, and Rick sings backing vocals live now, but he's not a singer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In there just like a little bit, but
Yeah.
it was, you know, how Weezer used harmonies and with the backing vocals, and also how they worked the guitars. That was really like, we were like, oh, it'd be really good to like if we could do that. And so we started looking for a second guitar player, and we saw Charlotte play at a little gig in Town, the Bull and Gate, I think it was called.
Yeah.
In the band called Nightmares. And we went and saw her play, and she was like, she's a great guitar player. And then I think our manager sort of like talked to her, and then we did a rehearsal, and then that was that. She did it.
Yeah.
And did it work? I mean, the thing that you were envisioning of kind of weaving the guitars and stuff together, did it come out exactly how you wanted it to?
Like, she actually is a brilliant guitar player. So like it was fantastic for that.
Yeah. And the album came out, and it wasn't as well received as 1977. I think it's fair to say.
No, I mean, that album had a lot of well, I wouldn't even say problems. It had a lot of like, it was a difficult album to get made. So we went, and it took us going to like this residential studio to sort of like be cut off from the rest of the world to get, you know, to get through the process of writing it. And then once we started to record it, we worked with a producer he wasn't really our choice, because the one Mars had done 1977 and we loved it. And then the record company had fallen out, and because Owen's very obnoxious, but I mean, if you put aside how obnoxious he is, he's great in the studio. So
Owen Morris is it?
yeah, but he had fallen out with our label owner, our boss, and so Corda wanted us to work with this guy called Chris Kimsey, who was like, he had worked with the Rolling Stones and stuff.
Yeah,
we were a little bit skeptical beforehand, but we were like, all right, if you want us to do it, we'll give it a go. And then we recorded the album, and I was always very, very skeptical as we recorded it, how it was going, because I didn't like what I was hearing, what was being put onto it.
Right.
And then our manager was like, look, let's just wait to see what the first mix sounds like. So we heard the opening song, Project. That was first song on the album, and the mix was horrible.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want that to come out our name on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that afternoon, there was like a sacking.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were we had just gone in to like spend, probably 3 weeks or whatever it was on the guy Pink Floyd have got like what's the name of the guy? Dave Gilmore, is that right?
Dave Gilmore, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recording studio in London. The studio
Okay.
like water. So we were mixing it in that studio, and after the first mix, I was like, no, stop. So then basically everything just stopped that afternoon. The rest of the mixing didn't continue. He got fired, and we reset for a sec. We sort of paused, and then we had to convince the label to get Owen back in with videos where we recorded. We actually did track there, but we went back because a lot of that album was re-recorded.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
guitars just, it was a very clean, polished 80s cocaine sound, and it didn't sound. And it was horrible, and so we had to re-record it.
Okay.
I would say maybe 80% of that album was re-recorded.
Were you pleased with the final result?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever you can say, yeah, critically it wasn't. It didn't sell anywhere near what 1977 sold.
But it was, yeah.
Actually got good reviews from the Enemy and press, but then once it was like those were reviews before it was released. And once the music press can be pretty fickle. As soon as they saw that it didn't perform, and some fans were like, "This is not the act that we thought we were waiting for," then they quickly turned on it, and it was like thought to be a bomb.
Oh man, did that affect you when the kind of music press kind of have that backlash?
Well, I guess we definitely went through a period of like 2.5, 3 years of being like the indie darlings, where like we were on the front covers.
Yeah, of course.
We'd be on the front cover of Krang, Smash Hits, Melody Maker, Enemy, Select, every music magazine there was, basically.
Yeah. But that's what they do, right? We build them up, knock them down. That's like the whole kind of ethos of like the music papers at that time, wasn't it?
A little bit, but that was we actually didn't think about it too much. It wasn't until like we came around to the third album that we even thought that was a big deal, because it still went gold, so it sold 100,000 in the UK. We went out.
Not bad. That'll do.
No.
We still did like a sold out tour of the UK, so it's
Sure.
for every
Yeah.
We had everything was still. The train had not come off the tracks. It was still, everything was still.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until we got to recording the demos for the third album that we realized, oh shit, we were not in as good a place as we thought we were, because we heard the demos and we're not into them, and we're like, oh, we don't want to record this, and we were like, oh shit, because we had back in this, we thought we didn't realize that these are options for the record company to release.
Right, sure.
By contract, we got so everything's gonna be fine. So they announced for the third album, and kind of basically passed on it. Like we were like, well, we were confident in the music, because even though people can say Nuclear Sounds was not great, or whatever, I think it still stands up. We wouldn't have released it. We went through all of that nightmare process to get it to the point where what we released we were happy with. So then when we recorded the demos for Free All Angels, which is the third album, we were happy with the songs. we went. Our management was happy as well, and we thought, well, if the record company doesn't want to pay to record these songs, we're just going to do it ourselves.
Back to basics. Yeah.
So we talked to Owen Morris, who was obviously a very good friend, and he was like, okay, he heard the songs and he was like, I love them. I'll record them and you don't have to pay me until it's. She basically worked for free. So we started recording. I think we recorded like 4 songs. And one of them was Shining Light.
Yeah.
And then that recorded properly and mixed. Then we went back to the record company, and our manager had already known, because he had worked in radio plugging before. He had known that there was going to be support because he had played it to people at Radio 1 and they liked it. He knew it. Went back into the record company and went, here's the songs that you refuse to pay for, and make them meet your words, kind of thing.
Yeah, wow. That's cool.
Nice. I like that you stuck to your guns. That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they paid for us to go in and finish the album, the rest of it.
Okay.
And you were right.
And because we had leverage at that point, we sort of like decided to go to like the south of Spain and record it in Marbella in like this.
Why not?
Fuck it.
Because they knew at that point. They knew, yeah.
And was that your most successful album, Free All Angels? That was a big seller, right?
Went #1 in platinum. I mean, it and
platinum now. Wow.
So like in 1977, we're both #1s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely seen. We see those. They're kind of like the 2 peaks of our career.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. What a story.
Not by the press, like after the second album, it was nice to have that sort of like bounce back.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you're written off like that. You don't bounce back.
Yeah.
Well, we speak to a lot of people on the podcast, and a lot of them didn't bounce back, and that was the end. The 90s finished, and the band finished. So it's great that you did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of allowed us to go through the 2000s.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You also got into kind of video game music and soundtracks and stuff. I mean, my image is that's kind of a more lucrative side of the record industry. Is that true?
Well, so after Nuclear Sounds commercial failure,
relatively, but yes. Yeah.
Record was commercial failure, but perceived.
Sure. Gold selling failure.
Yeah. Despite selling the gold, we still didn't have money off from sales, because back then music videos cost like maybe 80 grand. So we had like I think we had like 4 videos on that album. So I mean, and a lot of money was spent on it.
It's insane. The 90s are crazy. There's so much money around. Yeah.
Oh, you could have bought a street of houses for what we spent on them.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Absolutely. We look back at it now, everybody was just
wild. Yeah.
Wild.
Nuts.
But where was it going with this? What we talking about?
Can't remember. Video game music, soundtracks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we were kind of, after Nuclear Sounds, we were kind of skint, and said we went just before we went. Actually, it was around that time when we recorded Shining Light, and then we did that ourselves. And I think we had two grand left in the bank account. And whenever you're like all these expenses and stuff, to operate, we were like getting really close to the wire.
Wow.
And then Gran Turismo came along.
Yeah.
And the Gran Turismo game had come out, I think, a year before. But it was around that time that we got a royalty check. And I mean, a royalty check that we had never got from a record company. We got from a games company.
Yeah.
Millions.
How much was it?
Gran Turismo sold millions around the world.
Yeah.
And we were very, very, I think whatever it was. like 8p or something per copy, but
Yeah.
millions of sales. It actually
Yes.
it's a big chunk of change, and
Yeah.
Dave, at that point, it came in and saved us right at the point where we were, needed it.
Yes. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a good game as well. I used to play it all the time.
Yeah, that was the first. I think because at the time, before Gran Turismo, most music in games was like
Yeah.
what you call it, like bleeps and blurps.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first games that actually licensed music to
That's right.
have written on a game.
Mm.
They went put a lot of effort into it, and it was like a big spec. And again, because this was like right at the start of them doing those kind of licensing deals, they hadn't really worked out what the precedent was. So
right,
for the first few games, the rates that we got were pretty high compared.
Right, then they worked it out.
Yeah.
Once these computer companies realized they were giving away so much money, they were like, someone somewhere went, "Why are we doing this?" and then scale a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we were, in there at the right time.
Yeah. That's cool. When you went back to being a three-piece again, I read an interview you gave just after, and it seems that it wasn't Charlotte's decision. Let's put it that way. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Was it a good decision, do you think?
I think it was a decision that. Let me think about this. I think it was just a decision that at the time there were some things going on that we can't really talk about, but
okay.
But it just kind of had to happen.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But at the same time, she was like pivoting to wanting to do like a lot more solo stuff, and it just kind of like played out as it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was probably a little bit of like hurt there, but then over time things, bridges got mended.
Okay.
And
that's good.
All this, on stage since.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Done tours. She's done like anniversary tours, and usually if we play in London, quite often she'll come and play the encore, that kind of stuff.
That's nice.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right, we've kept you a really long time. We do apologise, but
no problem.
Luke, should I ask the last question or?
Yeah, sure. If you ask it properly,
I'll try.
Go on.
So we asked this to all our guests, but if you could have been in any other band around that time, sort of the early 90s, mid 90s, who would it have been and why?
See, I mean, I actually honestly think that we got to live at the height of all that craziness, and like we got the experience really well.
I mean, did you join
it?
in?
Have been probably a better band to be in. To be honest.
Were you like in the good mixer, drinking with Graham Coxon and shit like that? Were you like full into the scene?
Completely.
That's great. That's great.
Manager was based in London, and essentially we all moved to London. I think moved to London when I was 18. So, I mean, we were out every night, part of the scene. And
did you meet any of your heroes?
Yeah.
Well, you must have done along the way. Yeah. Who was the coolest?
Like I got to meet Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore, and that was
man.
Here they Sonic Youth played, and then we played. It was at Reading Festival, but I was a proper fanboy, so I sort of got starstruck and didn't know what to say. I was like, late afternoon before the show and stuff, and I got introduced to them. I kind of just drew a blank.
But, you would though. You would. It's understandable.
The So it was really embarrassing counter. But I mean, they were. I love Sonic Youth, and then we, yeah, as I said earlier, we had Bad Moon were Nirvana's press agency, and they were in their office was next door to our managers, and so they ended up being our PR, and we became friends with all of them. And Anton, who used to work there, was like, super close friends with Kurt. Eventually, well, at one point it's a different story, but at one point we were supposed to support Nirvana in Belfast, but then that never happened. And then, but then whenever the Foo Fighters played their first ever UK show in King's College, so like Anton took me there, and because he was like close friends with Dave, it was like, all of a sudden I'm like this Nirvana fanboy, and I'm in the Foo Fighters dressing room, and Dave were all standing there, and like I'm just like starstruck kind of thing.
Mate. Amazing.
Was he a nice guy? He's supposed to be this nice guy. Was he as nice as everyone makes him? No.
I mean, we got to know him over the years, and at one point, whenever we recorded the Meltdown album, he invited us up to his house to a Halloween party.
Right.
Oh, speaking of that, I read something about you made a horror movie with Dave Grohl. What happened to that?
Yeah, I mean, he was in it for like a little bit, like for a couple minutes.
Okay, but what happened to the movie? Did it come out?
The movie got kind of like vaulted.
Okay.
We showed it. We showed parts of it at an Ash 20 show, which was like our 20th anniversary in London once. They did this all day gig with like set different rooms. Like it's like a mini convention almost. One of the rooms during the afternoon, we did like a Q&A and screening of like parts of it. Not the whole thing.
Okay.
But speaking about that, we actually are investigating ways to actually complete it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, do it.
But one of the ways to finish it is to finish it as a documentary on a movie which never got finished. So
I like it.
That may actually be what happens.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And sorry to interrupt again, but you mentioned Glastonbury. I also read that you were the youngest person to play Glastonbury. Is that true?
I think, I think I'm the youngest. Well, not to play, the headline.
The headline, that's what I mean. The headline Glastonbury, yeah.
So Billie Eilish, I guess the papers were.
Yes.
And that she was like the youngest headliner of Glastonbury. And then Chris Salmon, who's this music journalist who works for Coldplay now. I think he corrected them and said, actually, it's not. Billie Eilish.
Oh, so you're still the youngest?
There's me.
Yeah, brilliant. Still got it. All right.
In your face, Eilish.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely interrupted you answering Neil's question about what band you were supposed to be in. I apologize.
I was kind of saying that. I mean, we did get sort of like we were fully on the roller coaster of all that scene, so like we got to see it all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. I've never ever had the desire to play in another band. So, are you talking specifically about the Britpop scene?
No, it could be any 90s band, basically. Or any band, whatever, any time, whatever.
Yeah, fuck it, any band.
Any era, whatever. You can choose Iron Maiden.
No. Maybe. Oh, fuck, I don't know. That's too hard of a question.
That's fair.
Well, that's good. You wanted to be an Ash, you're in Ash. That's good enough for us.
I'm trying to think. Maybe someone who got. I mean, because we did really well. But I'm trying to think someone who was like so big that that they're just millionaires and never have to work.
Right. I mean,
right. Yes. Well,
Coldplay.
Like we'll still go out and do like toilet tours because we love it. And
yeah.
I don't know. In our own minds, we've always felt like that we've never fully, what's the word? Got where we wanted.
Oh.
Well,
never.
there's still time. You're still young.
You have to say that because you're the same age as us. So yeah.
I think we still feel like we've got something to prove, right? Almost. Well,
Yeah.
you know, if
Yeah.
band as big as Coldplay or Snow Patrol, who got absolutely giant.
I mean, did you want? Is that what you wanted or still want?
I think we still want it, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we accomplished.
Then you'd have to be Coldplay. You're willing to make that compromise?
No, but we never had 2 number 1 albums. We never had a number 1 single, and I always wanted that. And I think
Right.
a couple of times we felt that we had the song that could have done it, and then it didn't happen. That was like a big disappointment. So,
Yeah.
you know, times when we recorded certain songs, and we were in the studio, and we're like, okay, this is the fucking one.
Yeah.
Get that sort of like excitement, and then whenever it maybe just like didn't land, and then that, that's a real punch in the gut.
Yeah.
Sure. Like Neil said, there's still time, and now's the 90s revival. Like Shed 7 are getting number 1 albums. There's, it's happening. It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, we believe, Mark. You can do this.
Definitely, we're definitely going to be still kicking around for at least 2 more albums. So
there you go. Yeah. Cool.
And you still, you're still like Lou was saying earlier. A lot of these bands from the 90s, they came and went, but you guys you've kept on that level the whole time. That's commendable in itself, surely. To sustain that.
Someone says we're just pluggers. Just keep plugging away. Just keep going.
Yeah, but you've got to have the music to back that up, and you guys do, so that's good.
We actually are very critical of ourselves in the studio, so we'll anyone can point at albums and go, that's not their strongest, or that song's not my favorite. But we do in the studio, we try to keep the standard up.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're also our own. You're your own worst critics, but you're also your own number 1 fans as well.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
Whenever you spend like a year making an album, or sometimes multiple years, by the time it comes out, you spent so much with these songs that you end up they're like your babies,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So you kind of sometimes you are your own number 1 fan, and you have to sort of like be able to step back and look at it from a different perspective. And sometimes, quite often after we've recorded new stuff, we have like a pool of like trusted people that we think have got like good ears, and we play them and get feedback. And usually the feedback is kind of what we were already thinking. But
that's good,
right?
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, we won't keep you any longer. Where's the best place if people want to find out if Ash are touring, or when the record's coming out and stuff? What's the best place to check?
So I guess ashofficial.com is the website. I mean, that's all the tour stuff goes through it, and then our socials goes. I mean, Ash is on Facebook. It's on Instagram. We don't. I mean, we're Gen Xers, so we're not on TikTok. But honestly, we need to be on. That's. I mean,
don't you say?
It's like I just don't want. I just don't want to even install on my phone.
Oh, mate, me too.
No,
I don't understand.
Yeah,
it.
Don't do it. I've done it, and it's
I don't
the scourge of my life. It's horrible.
Don't.
Yeah, stay off it. Don't.
Yeah. And do it for us.
Yeah.
Necessity these days, but yeah. We're on. I mean, Instagram, Facebook, and the website is basically where most stuff goes through, and then there's a mailing list on the website that people who want it, they get like tipped off for tours and stuff.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording. Don't escape just yet. But thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Great talking.
Oh, apologies for the audio in that one. It's a Zoom call, so it happens sometimes. But Mark did cut out a few times, but I don't think it really detracted from the interview too much. But apologies. I don't know why I always apologise. It's not my fault. It's just technology, isn't it?
No, you should take responsibility.
Of course, it's your fault.
It's Dave's fault. Anyway, Dave, did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, it was good. I did enjoy that one.
I enjoyed that.
It's long, wasn't it?
It
was
was
long.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
I think it's
Yeah.
quite a good sign when it's long because it shows they don't want to go.
I
They
don't
want
know
it
if
to
that's
keep going.
true.
Sure.
Sure.
It seemed to take a long time with the build up with the early part of their career.
Yeah, I like that though. It was nice to hear about the early days. I think it's quite important with Ash as well because they were so young. It's good to find
Yeah.
out how they all got together.
At the start, it talks about Iron Maiden, and I was a bit curious about them. I haven't really listened to them. Have you?
The Maiden.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I know about them, and all the imagery and stuff they did is really iconic and
Eddie.
stuff. But,
Yeah.
but I just had a listen to that Killers album from '81.
good,
I was
isn't it?
just quite impressed, and
Yeah,
also
good.
with the time context as well. Like, how could that be
Mm.
'81? It's just amazing.
Well, yeah, they were pioneers, weren't they?
Why? What do you mean? It's too
Iron
heavier than
Maiden.
you expected for '81?
It just sounds newer and fresher
Yeah,
than
it's really well
81.
produced. Those albums, the production of those albums is amazing. They're great albums. Yeah. Go back and have a listen, Dave. Become a metaler. Get your brown leather jacket.
won't
Never
do
too
that.
late to become a metaler.
Grow your hair, dye it black again. Put your brown leather jacket back on. Get a Iron Maiden patch. Put it on the back.
Oh, for the jacket.
Battle jacket.
Or get a tattoo. Get an Iron Maiden tattoo on your face.
Yeah. That origin story was entertaining, wasn't it? It was good.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
But the thing that stuck out for me was how he's left-handed and he was given a right-handed bass guitar. Firstly, how his parents didn't know. And
If you
secondly,
don't know about guitars, a guitar's a guitar, isn't it? You just buy a guitar.
Yeah.
but they must have known their son was left-handed.
Yeah, but they might not. I didn't know about left or right-handed guitars. I didn't know about that.
But then he just made do and learned anyway. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, who is it? Someone played their guitar upside down.
Jimi Hendrix.
I can't remember who it was. No, it wasn't Jimi Hendrix.
I think it was. He strung it upside down.
What, for the same reason?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had a right-handed guitar, but they strung it so it was all the strings were top to bottom sort of thing.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Hendrix. Yeah,
You might be right.
Yeah.
I
And
think.
why didn't he do that?
he didn't
It's
know.
So instead of just re-stringing it, he just turned from being left to right-handed.
A lot
But
of
if you
people
don't
are
know, you don't know,
ambidextrous,
right?
aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose.
Like Ronnie O'Sullivan, he can play snooker with both hands, can't he?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Is
Ambidextrous.
that right?
It's true. Yeah.
Mm.
I think George Washington was as well.
My granddad was
There you
ambidextrous.
go. Fucking
Really?
hell.
How did it manifest?
I think he could write with either hand. Yeah.
Could he eat with both hands?
No.
Dave, you talking about Iron Maiden and that? They were 11 years old, right? And it's like Tim and Mark, they got their leather jackets on at 11, walking around Downpatrick, the streets of Downpatrick. That's quite out of the ordinary, isn't it?
That's cool.
11, that's
That's
young,
cool.
isn't it? But also, he was talking about, well, it's kind of how I discovered Iron Maiden as well. I discovered Iron Maiden in that shop in Brighton, up the stairs, and there's just cassettes and T-shirts. Do you remember it?
I bought Bleach in
Yeah.
there. That's before Nevermind came out. I bought Bleach in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I bought my Metallica stuff in there.
That was a funny place, wasn't it? It's a big open space, wasn't it? It was just
Massive.
like stuff around the
What was
edges.
it called? Was
Can't
it
remember what it's
Enterprise
called.
Place Centre or something?
It's like the Jubilee
something like that.
shopping centre. or something.
Jubilee, yeah.
Jubilee,
Something.
right?
It's just there's massive space, wasn't it, with tapes and T-shirts and posters, and it was cool. But that's similar. That's where I found Iron Maiden, and I think I was just drawn to sort of the artwork and stuff. Thought, give this a go. And he was saying that's how they kind of found them. They're drawn to the artwork first. Again, one of those. It's on a market stall, I think. One of those muso characters selling tapes on a market stall. But I remember that shop. I used to love that
Well, I liked
shop.
me and Mark had the same first album.
Bad. I've got that written here.
Bad by
Didn't
Michael
everyone
Jackson.
have that though? I mean, you can see why it sold when
Yeah,
there's
I
so
had
many
it.
copies. Everyone had it, didn't they?
Was it your first one though? It's the first album I ever
I
bought.
think it was my first
think my-
cassette.
I think
Yeah,
my
it's the-
brother
yeah,
had.
I
My
got a
brother had
Walkman
it,
that
so I
year.
didn't buy it personally, but my brother had
Okay,
it.
okay.
But, you know,
I got it from Smith's in Eastbourne, I think.
It's a really good album, apart from Speed Demon.
Speed
like
Demon's
Speed
not
Demon.
good.
I like Speed
That
Demon.
ruined it.
Liberian Girl,
Yeah.
that's probably one of my
Liberian
favourite.
Girl's not good as well. No, they're the
I
two
like
worst on it. They're the ones that
Liberian
got fast forwarded on the Walkman. They're the only two that got fast forwarded. I told you before about how I won the Michael Jackson dancing competition at Ben Cavey's birthday party, didn't I?
I'm not sure
No.
if you've mentioned it on the pod, but
That's the whole story. That's the whole story.
did you do a moonwalk?
So
Oh.
Ben, I mean, I couldn't do the moonwalk, everything but. So he had his Michael Jackson dancing competition. It was on like the patio in the back garden of his house. They like blasted it out, and everyone had a go. I think his mum was the judge,
Right.
and yeah, I won. I got £5, which is quite a lot of money for
How do you
kid's
dance like
birthday
Michael
party. Right?
Jackson?
Just kind of spin around and bring your legs together and grab your
Right.
crotch, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But imagine not doing the moonwalk. How disappointing.
Yeah. Could have at least tried
If you
it.
do it then, motherfucker, go on.
Can't.
Oh
No, if
man,
I
I'd
was
love to do
gonna-
the moonwalk. That's one of my
Yeah.
ambitions in life, is to be able to moonwalk.
It was
I
good
wouldn't
though,
have
wasn't it?
the
when you
nerve
did
to
the
take part without moonwalking.
But it's too difficult. No one can moonwalk. It wasn't expected. It's too difficult.
Well, there's a famous video the first time he did the moonwalk, and everyone was like, they couldn't believe their eyes. And you wouldn't, would you?
It's
If
incredible.
The first time you saw
Have you ever
the
seen
moonwalk?
anyone do it like in front of your eyes?
No.
No.
So I
must be
was
good.
talking about it to one of my students once in class, and she was in like the dance class, and she's like, "Yeah, I can moonwalk." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, well, "Go on then." And so she went to the front of the class, and your eyes are watching it, but you can't
like,
work out how it's being done. It's just
Gliding across
amazing.
the floor.
It's amazing. Yeah, she was great. It's great.
Have you seen the videos of people airwalking?
Yeah, that's good as
No.
well. Where it looks like
I've
there's
seen
not
it looks
walking in
like
the
they're
air, though.
flying.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
like a circle, don't they? It looks like they don't put their feet down.
Mm.
Okay, I know what you mean.
It's mad.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about, firstly, their first band, Vietnam. It's a great name. But did you, like me, not realise for a long time that Vietnam was actually the name of a country? I think I probably was a teenager before I realised it was a country.
So you thought it was a war rather than a
Just
country?
thought it was a war. Yeah.
Right. Oh man. Well, talking about Ben Cavey, he had he must have got it from like the shop down by St. Luke's Church. They had like videos. He had this life-size cardboard cutout of Robin Williams from Good Morning Vietnam in his bedroom at that time. Yeah, it was really cool.
Film that, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good. So I'm just going to pour some tea, just a sec.
You don't have to show us the pot every time.
Just doing it to piss off
He
Neil.
thinks he's really cool, doesn't he? Drinking tea.
Doing it to annoy Neil. I
Drinking
wasn't going to mention it until you started getting annoyed by it.
You must have had a litre by now.
He'll
It's
be
just a little
pissing all
teapot.
night.
Pissing the night away.
Yeah.
Where are
Put it
we?
on the playlist.
No way. No, it's a Chumbawamba free zone, my playlists.
Kerrang was a big thing for them, wasn't it? That sort of opened them up to a whole new world of music, gave them something to sort of aspire to. It was a good magazine, Kerrang. I think I preferred that over the other magazines at the time. Don't know why. Tell me about Kerrang. It was.
I mean, I was an NME boy, but yeah, Kerrang was good. I thought it was interesting that they started writing their own songs immediately because they didn't know how to play, so they couldn't cover anyone else's because they didn't know how to play anyone else's. That's
It's kind of
interesting.
the opposite of what most other bands do. Isn't it?
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? I mean, if you can't play, then you can't cover, can you?
No,
You just have to make it up. Yeah.
Most people learn the basics, and there's a lot of bands that you don't really need to learn many basic chords to cover, but
it's completely different disciplines as well, isn't it? Like trying to be creative on an instrument versus trying to play something else that already exists. Because the second one is actually harder to do, I think.
Yeah.
Which one's harder?
To play a difficult piece that already exists. It's quite laborious, isn't it?
I always thought it'd be the opposite. It must be more difficult to come up with something original, no?
Nah. No, I go
Well,
with
not in
Dave.
terms of effort,
Go on then. You fucking write a hit song. What do you mean?
Oh, I
but it's different, isn't it? It kind of it's difficult because it's sort of random, but it's not hard work. It's just easy work, isn't it? But then it's
Yeah, I
more
don't know.
up to the gods, isn't it? If it's successful or not.
Trying to think of a non-musical parallel that I can understand. It's interesting.
Well, it's
Can't
like
think of one.
learning a poem off by heart versus just coming up with one off the cuff. I
Mm.
mean, coming up with one off the cuff is easier, but it's probably going to be shit.
I just come out with that poo poem straight off, and it just happened to be.
That's not true. That was revised and revised over many, many months. You didn't freestyle it.
That's how I remember it.
I think he did freestyle it. It was just
I
a
don't
moment
think he
of
did.
genius.
I thought the whole story
No.
was that I started reciting it when we were in our beds on holiday, and Dave said,
I
"Got up."
realised.
This is how I remember it.
I
Got up
realised
and
what
said,
was
"I've
going
got to
on.
write this down."
Yeah, I saw what was happening. Neil was
But then I
just like
think
the
it was
conduit.
redrafted quite a few times after that.
Possibly.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm not saying you're not a genius, Neil. I'm not saying that at all.
No. I thought he painted a really nice image of that Downpatrick music scene. Sounded like a really nice little scene there, right? And in Belfast, where they were really sort of
the community spirit of the place, how they went round to get the money they needed to release the record.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't do that in London, could you? It has to be.
No.
And when I was in Bournemouth, it wasn't really like that. Yeah, it doesn't happen everywhere. But yeah, it seemed like all the record shops were supporting local bands and everyone was helping each other. And that local band, I can't remember the name, that sort of introduced them to the whole grunge scene.
Yeah. And they're doing it all independently, selling their records in the local shops and stuff.
Yeah, that young enterprise scheme he was talking about, where he had the idea to get some vinyl pressed and stuff. I think that sort of goes to show that behind all these sort of, in inverted commas, overnight success bands, there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes that goes into it.
And like Dave said, a whole community kind of making it happen. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, another John Peel success story.
Yeah. I looked up the Fierce Panda release that he was talking about, and it was double 7-inch called Crazed and Confused, featuring Credit to the Nation, Ash with their song Punk Boy, a band called Noise Addict that I vaguely remember, Supergrass, Caught by the Fuzz, Gorky the Psychotic Monkey, and Tribute to Nothing, all on the same double 7-inch. Fierce Panda, man, they were killing it back then. It's just amazing.
They still are going strong now, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's why they're releasing
their
Ash's
last album.
Last album, sorry. Yeah.
When he was talking about the problems recording the second album, and he was talking about he didn't like the sound of it. He said it was an 80s cocaine sound. I didn't know what he meant.
Yes, I like that phrase.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means either, but it comes up quite a lot, doesn't it? I think it just means that overproduced nonsense sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't think, have we heard it before? I don't know. It's a good way
I
of
think
describing it.
people,
I think.
Yeah.
But how would you rate that second album compared to 1, 2, and 3?
I do agree that it's the weakest of those first three. I do. I think the songs they just hasn't got the songs. Well, not enough anyway. Basically, but I think the sound is not that overproduced. It's a bit heavier, which I like, but I think it just hasn't got quite enough kind of hooks to reel you in. Maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like the whole making of that album was it was one of those that they had to make an album sort of thing rather than they wanted to, and that's never a good starting point, is it?
Their stress levels must have been really too high. You must have to be relaxed to make a good album.
And like you said, they've been touring for so long that they hadn't had time to be creative, which is interesting.
It does bring me on to my next point, though, that obviously you know that I like to talk about the production side and stuff, especially with that album.
Which one?
And the next, the Nuclear Sounds. The mixing of those albums is almost as important as the songs themselves, right? If it's not mixed properly, that's really important. I know in Morris comes up a lot. He basically fixed Definitely Maybe and
Yeah.
fixed Nuclear Sounds as well. He's a
Sounds like it,
fixer.
yeah. It's a fixer.
What made no sense to me, and this is changing the subject, but why would they invest £80,000 per video?
Oh, see, this is what I wanted to talk about this
It's
because that's how much
ridiculous.
they cost. That's how much they cost back then. There's so much money going around. Music
why
videos are
bother?
expensive because back then, if you got your music video on MTV, it's a huge promotion.
Mm.
Now it doesn't matter so
Mm.
much. You had to have a good video, but there's so much money knocking around. 80 grand.
Yeah.
They were just more expensive to make back then.
They must have realised that if you're spending that much on a video, you're going to have to sell like
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
100,000 to get
Yeah.
your money
But
back.
they must
Just
have
doesn't seem to
calculated
add
that
up.
without those videos, they wouldn't have sold, nearly enough copies anyway. So it was a calculated risk, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, videos used
Well,
to
there was
be
just so much money
expensive.
in the industry, right?
Yeah, and I think it was just supply and demand. Like there was less people could actually make videos back then. Like not everyone could just make, like I do, just get a camera and make films and stuff. Back then, you couldn't do that. You had to have all the proper equipment. So supply and demand, didn't it?
Mm.
Charge more money for it.
Also, I like appreciated, Luke, you do try and ask difficult questions. I've noticed that. But it's a shame we didn't really get much information about what happened in the band and
With Charlotte.
why. Yeah, I mean, and why was she brought in the first place? I guess that was
Well,
covered.
he did
just
talk
wanted
about that,
another
yeah.
guitar.
Yeah.
Just
He
wanted
said, yeah, they were
another guitarist.
on tour with Weezer and they saw how they worked together and they just wanted to do that, basically. I've read other interviews with them on this. I read an interview with them just after she'd been relieved of her duties, let's say. And yeah, they kind of put it as in, we never thought of her as a permanent member. There was always going to be a limit to her time in the band anyway.
Right.
Was the way they put it, basically.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think she was surprised. But she was already doing like her own, so she would like a solo album before she left the band anyway. So she was doing other stuff as well at the same time. So
yeah. Dave, going back to what you were saying before about why get another guitarist in, I think a lot of people who sing and play the guitar just do it to take the pressure off a little bit. Like that's the same with Kurt Cobain when they got in Pat Smear and that. Just when they're playing live, if the pressure's on you to sing the songs and play all the guitar, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a bit of that.
Yeah.
What about Pepsi and Shirley and Wham? Do they count as full members?
Were they
I mean, they should
official
do.
members of Wham? I watched
They
a
should do,
documentary on
shouldn't they?
Wham
They should do.
around Christmas. They all went back to where they filmed the Last Christmas thing. And there was Pepsi,
the
Shirley,
ski lodge.
Andrew Ridgeley, and the friends that were in the video. They were all there as well, and they were all chatting about it.
Great.
It was good, yeah.
Pepsi and Shirley are great, weren't they?
No,
Yeah. But people
Weren't
don't think
they?
of them as
were they?
yeah, they're proper members of the band.
Yeah, I think they were.
Did their own stuff as well, didn't they?
They did,
for a
yeah.
bit?
Yeah. I didn't know they were part of Wham for a long time afterwards, actually.
Yeah,
Isn't Pepsi married to Martin Kemp?
yeah. She's
Really?
Roman Kemp's mum.
Who's Roman Kemp? Their son.
You're in Japan, but he's all over the. He does
I've
the
never
one
heard of
show
him.
now.
He's
Does
a
the
big
one show.
celebrity now.
As a presenter.
Yeah,
Oh,
he seems like a nice lad. He's quite harmless.
okay.
There's another story about how some record labels they seem to just not know fuck all about music. Basically, they took Free All Angels to the record company, the demos, and said, "This is our new album." They said that's shit. We don't want it. So they went and re-recorded it and then took it back. Said, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's quite good."
Yeah, it's
Isn't it?
crazy, isn't it? But I guess it's because they burned 80 grand per video on the last album.
Yeah, you've got to be
Sure.
careful, haven't you, if you're a record
Sure.
label?
You can
I guess. But it's not their money anyway, is it?
understand
They
them being a bit
spent-
skeptical. Yeah.
The whole con out of all of that is it's the artists that spend the money, not the record label. Like
Yeah, they end up
those,
having to pay it, don't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
those music videos and stuff that comes out of their advance or whatever it's called.
Mm.
It's not.
Yeah.
God, it's
They just
messed
end
up,
up
isn't it?
paying for everything.
I've enjoyed that last album, Race the Night. I thought that was good.
Yeah, I've been listening to that last couple of days. It's not bad, eh?
Yeah, and I like the cover, but it's just completely different, isn't it? Looks like a completely different band than when
Yeah.
The
it
cover
started out.
to the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice of artwork. Yeah, because they're going on tour with the Darkness, aren't they? I just want to talk a little bit about the Darkness, and they've become famous again just through his podcast, haven't they? Pretty much.
Oh,
And
you're not
Mark
going to
sort
go
of
on about
said
Main
that.
Street again, are you? Oh my
No,
God.
I'm not. I don't. But I just thought that's interesting. That's a prime example of how, you can embrace social media and use it. It can be a good thing for bands and stuff if you do it properly. That they've literally rejuvenated. Is that a word?
It is a word.
It is a word, yeah.
Is it the
Yeah.
right word for what I'm saying?
I don't
Depends
know
what your
yet.
sentence.
You have to keep
Finish
going.
your sentence.
Rejuvenated their career.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Why not?
it's not, is it?
it's fine.
Right. Just off the back of him being a likable character, knowing a lot about music and being relatable. Their whole career's on the up again, and it's just down to that podcast, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, isn't it? Just think it's an interesting case study of how to do that well. I mean, the podcast it's nothing to do with the band, is it? It's just him.
What is it? What does he do?
He just reviews music and songs and dissects them. But he's really funny, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's a great musician. He's just a really relatable person.
Oh man, I'm going to go listen to that.
Before you listen to that, why don't you listen to this fucking podcast, Dave?
Yeah. Do
I'm
this
listening
one
to
first.
it as we go.
Sure.
Lots of people listened to it last week. They liked it. You'll probably like it.
I don't know. I just can't stand the sound of my own voice.
Neither can I stand the sound of your
Yeah.
voice, but
I don't like your voice either. You let us into that one, Dave. Come on.
right. That's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. If you are watching, then please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We're rocketing towards that 1,000 subscriber mark. We are. When I woke up this morning, it had flipped over to 900. We're in the home straight.
Okay, come on.
In the home
Come
straight.
on, we're nearly there.
So thank you. If you are listening, then please do leave us a review so that we can read it out on the podcast next week. Don't know what else I can do to get people to leave reviews anymore. That's all I can do, isn't it? I've tried my hardest.
Offer money.
Well, I guess that's the
50
next.
quid a review.
That'll have to be the next thing. Don't say that. Then we have to.
Sexual favours.
Remember, you can sponsor the podcast now. Yeah, send us an email at stupidandcontagiouspodcast@gmail.com. If you're a band, record label, I don't know, band t-shirts, anything like that. And then we'll give you a mention at the start of the podcast, put you in the show notes. If you're a band, we'll stick you on the mixtape.
If you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. We got over 70 other episodes out there. So all of your 90s favourite stars. People we mentioned briefly today, Symposium. We got an interview with Ross there. We've got Pop Elite itself. Lots of basically bands from the 90s. And also we've mentioned it a couple of times, but I make a mixtape for every episode. So all of your favourite Ash songs will be on there, as well as some other things we talked about today. Iron Maiden, The Darkness. What else did you tell me to put down? I can't
Paul
remember now.
Hardcastle.
Paul Hardcastle. No, 19. Yeah, all of that'll be on there. So yeah, have a listen.
But that's it for this one. Join us for episode 80 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast next week. Dave?
See you in a minute.